If you smell what the rock is cooking.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Rocksteady, in the building. We back with another episode of What is the Rock Cooking? So today we are making banana bread, specifically banana nut bread. So I have here our list of ingredients, just to cap that off. Start this off with the recipe up front. Everybody wants to know the recipe, right? So this is banana nut bread. This is 1 cup of granulated sugar. Okay, I'm back. So 1 cup of granulated sugar. I'm not using granulated sugar. I'm using brown sugar. I also have 4 ounces of butter. So that's a whole stick. I have 2 sticks here. This is going to be a double recipe. I'm doing a loaf. Then I'm doing 4 little mini loaves. So doing a double recipe here. All right. So 4 ounces of butter, 1 stick, 2 large eggs. These eggs here, my neighbor, he has chickens and he gives me free eggs, and these are fire. As you notice, they're not in the refrigerator. They can sit on the counter for like up to 30 days, I believe. So yeah, good stuff. All right, 2 eggs, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. This right here, this vanilla extract right here is fire. So I got this from a farmer's market when I was in San Antonio, and then I looked it up on the internet and found out they sell it on Amazon. So this right here is probably some of the best vanilla that I've ever had. As soon as you open a bottle, you can smell it. But good stuff. All right, so 2 cups of all-purpose flour, baking soda or baking powder, and baking soda. All right, and then last but not least, got our bananas. So we need about 1.5 cups of bananas. Generally, that's about 3 bananas will get you that. I got about 5, but some of it depends on how large the banana is. These ones right here are pretty big. These ones have been in the freezer for a while, so they've gotten dark, but these are probably the best ones because once they get that fully ripened state and all the sugars in there, that banana flavor really pops. But so we got that. Oh, and then we got salt. Gotta have a little salt. All right, so let's get this started. So first thing we're gonna do, wash our hands. Okay. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get these bananas peeled and mashed up, and so we can see how much we got. Because like I said, this is a double recipe, so I'm going to end up dividing this in half. So let's see how much mashed bananas we end up with. All right. Hopefully everybody's having a great day. You know, I'm out today. Just chilling. Actually, I'm waiting on I'm waiting on supports for Amazon so I can do some work on my bike, but I figure I can knock this out while I'm waiting. Now these ones were frozen, so I had to thaw them out. So these ones are just kind of like bloop, like that. So those ones, again, these ones have the flavor and it's just off the chain. So I normally do like to let these sit in the freezer and then I'll whip them out later. But in this case, I wanted to make this, and these ones had just turned brown. So here's what it is. Okay. All right. So got our bananas. Okay, so got our bananas out. Let's mash these up a little bit. And you can also Mix these with a blender. No big deal, whatever. But we just take this fork here. And we just give them a nice little mash. You know, once this gets mixed in the batter, I don't have to worry too much about how much you mash it. Just get it to a nice consistency. And now we'll get this in a cup and see how much we got. Okay. So we got just shy of 3 cups. So this is perfect. Perfect amount right here. Normally I would like to have a little bit more, but as long as you got about 1.5 cups, you will find that is plenty what you need. Okay, so our mashed bananas are here. So now at this point, let's go ahead and get our measurements together. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and get this oven preheated. We're gonna preheat our oven to 325 degrees. And we're gonna bake these for about a half an hour. We're gonna bake the loaf. We're gonna bake that one for about a half an hour with a foil tint. And then remove the foil and we'll continue to bake it for about 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, so get our sugar. So let me get this dark brown first. So we need a whole cup. So with brown sugar, we're gonna pack this in here. Let's just get this finished out. Use this on up. Okay. So we'll firmly pack this in here. We got about a half a cup. Yep. So we just need another half a cup. And this one is just light brown sugar. And I try to go with pure cane sugar. If it doesn't say pure cane, more than likely it's beet sugar. So yeah. Yeah, no. All right. So pack this down. Got a cup. Now with the other ones, since I only have this much brown sugar left, I will use some white sugar, so it'll be half and half. But normally, straight brown sugar. All right. So we get our brown sugar in there. Get our stick of butter in here. All right. So this butter paper, what I like to do, this is what I use to grease my pan. So, got my parchment paper in here already. So we just want to take this piece of paper and we'll get our inside greased all up and our pan will be ready. All right. That's good. Get in there. Okay. This, throw away. Okay. So now that we have that, I'm gonna go ahead, grab our blender. And we're gonna get the blender. So we're gonna cream the butter and the sugar together so it has a good creamy consistency. Then we'll go in with our eggs, our vanilla, and then we'll come in with our dry ingredients. All right, so Hopefully the audio is good. I did end up getting a 360 mic. So that way, no matter where I am, the distance, you can still hear me pretty good. So hopefully the audio is coming across nice and clear. So if y'all can see that consistency, it's about halfway there. Keep with it. Okay, so now you can see everything is well combined. This is almost like a paste. This is exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so now we're gonna go in with our eggs. So grab 2 eggs here. Now, I'm gonna crack these in a separate bowl. Sometimes, we'll get some bad eggs, so just make sure that we don't crack this in there and have to start everything over. So this was a good one. Some people beat them one at a time. I just get both in there. All right, both our eggs look great. We'll get those in there. And we get to mix it again. Okay, so it should end up looking like that. This is beautiful. Let's go ahead and get our oven heated. 325. Okay, next up, vanilla. So I like vanilla. So it said 2 teaspoons. I usually just use this cap. This is usually about a teaspoon. 1, 2, 3. A little bit for vanilla. Okay. So we got our vanilla in here. This, I'm just gonna go ahead and stir that in. We don't have to do a lot of beating on that. And now comes our friends, the banana. So I'm gonna use about half of this. All right. So we'll use half of this for now. The other half we'll do for the other loaf. So just gonna stir this in again. Now at this point, your batter start looking like this, which looks a little weird. Don't worry, nothing's wrong. Everything is fine. So at this point, we'll get our flour measured out. So we're gonna go with 2 cups of flour and 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Oops, I'm sorry. 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Here's our teaspoon. So 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. About 1/2. Okay. And then we're gonna do 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Half. Save with the stomach. Okay, so we got all that in here. So now what I'm usually do is I'll just measure this out for 1 cup. I'll kind of mix this all together good, and then I'll go in with that. And we'll mix these in batches. We'll mix the first cup in, then the second one, and go from there. So this right here, it's a little bit over 1 cup, which is good. That's okay. All right, so now at this point, I don't really use the mixer anymore. At this point, it's pretty much all hand because I want to just mix it to get incorporated, but I don't want to make my the bread hard, so this just keeps it tender. So we'll just mix and we'll shake flour. Well, before we do that, let's just mix all this up in here. Okay. So we'll just mix a little bit in here and stir it all up. All right, hopefully you guys can see that. I'm raising that up a little bit. But again, like I said, just a nice little mix. No, nothing too crazy. All right, so we got that. Let's get our last little bit. So as you mix this in, your batter is going to start getting thicker and thicker. So just be aware of that. But, you know, make sure you get everything out the bottom. So here we are coming together. All right, let's do our other cup. Okay, 1 cup. Now with the last addition of flour that I add at that point, I am going to add in my nuts. So for this big one, I'm doing pecans. Or actually for the big one, I'm doing walnuts. And then for the little mini loaves, I'm doing the pecans. Now at this point, you also can throw in chocolate chips. You know, if there's some type of other fruit you want to put in here, definitely, you know, you can do it at this point. So this is my last, about a 1/2 cup. So I'm just gonna sprinkle that on in there. And this is probably about, let's see how much. This probably about a little bit over a half, maybe a, oh, that's almost a whole cup of walnuts. You know what? I like nuts in my banana bread. We're going with the whole cup. So these ones are a little big. I'm gonna break these up a little bit. Crushing these with my hand. You know, black walnut, this was one of my mom's favorites. She would love just eating walnuts. She would buy a bag of those nuts, the mixed nuts, and here we go. All right, so at this point, do our final mix. Incorporate everything in here. And one of the nice things about it is you can also put the walnuts in the flour and let it coat it. And that way, it, from what I understand, it helps the walnuts to stay suspended in the batter versus all sinking to the bottom. All right. All right, so this is what we end up with. Something looks like this, okay? So now, we are going to go ahead and get our pan filled and tear off a piece of aluminum so we can get this in the oven. So we got our pan ready. Let's go ahead and get this in here. Ah, don't do that. Okay. So now we got our bread in here. We'll just press it all down. Okay. So one thing you can do, make sure you get any air pockets out of here. Just take it and slam it. That way the air can get out of there. All right, so now we got this here. Let's get our tent. So easiest way to do this is I just kind of cut an approximate size that'll cover the whole pan and have a little bit over the edges so I can wrap it under. And that's what we're gonna go with. So I'm trimming this array just so my foil can cover that pretty good. And this parchment paper definitely helps when it's time to get it out. You ever had anything stick in the pan? You know what I mean. Okay, so we got our aluminum foil. As you see, it covers the whole pan. So we'll go just a little bit more. And then at this point, I just fold it in half. And I put a little crimp in it. And that way it'll stay folded. And then we tint it just like that. So let's just get this tinted. And the main thing we're doing this for is just to keep the bread from getting too brown on the top, because this is a slow bake at 325. So just make sure that it doesn't get too brown. All right. So there we go. Our oven is at 325. Let's get this in here. And we will set a timer for 30 minutes. Set timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes, counting down.
Okay, so we got that done. I'm gonna just get all my other ingredients measured out for my second batch, and I'll have that on deck. And then once I'm done with this one, then we'll get the second batch put together. But until then, I'll be back. It's your boy Rocksteady, and I'm out. Okay, we're back. It's been 40 minutes. No, it's been 35 minutes. So we're just gonna check and see how our bread is looking. Oh, the smell in here is amazing. So that's what it looks like. Fire. Okay, so where's my sticks? So I got these little skewers. They work really great for testing doneness. So stick it in here, comes out clean. Okay, looks great. So this is done. So I'm gonna leave this. Put this on a little grate, that way to kind of diffuse some of that heat as it cools off. And at this point, we are ready to start our next batch. Okay, so all right, so I got everything prepped up. Got my eggs cracked. So I got my eggs cracked. Got my flour already measured out with the baking powder, baking soda, and salt. Got my sugar measured out. Got my butter and my bananas. So got our butter. Let's get our sugar in here and get this cream together and get this in the oven. Okay, that was weird. Okay, now at our paste consistency. So at this point, we'll go ahead and add our eggs. Okay, so here's our eggs in there. At this point, we're ready to go with our bananas. And like this again, we're just gonna fold this in. Doesn't have to be a lot of. Let's get this batter in the pans. Now these ones I'm gonna cook slightly different. So I already got my little mini loaves already buttered up. These ones, since they're smaller, we're still gonna cook it at 325, but we're only gonna cook these for like 30, 35 to 40 minutes, no cover. So we're just gonna cook it for that amount and then we're done. So let's get this divided up. So same thing, just kind of drop them a little bit just to get them to settle. I really like these little mini loaves. The only thing I don't like is as it cooks, it'll kind of like the middle will expand out like that. I wish there was some way it would just keep it a nice little tight loaf, but tis what it is. Okay. All right. So again, about 35 minutes, 40 minutes, no cover. 325. Okay. I'm gonna get these dishes washed up and I'll be back when the second batch is done. 30, 35, 40 minutes. So let's take a look. Oh yeah, these look good. Uh-huh. Okay. So there we go. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. I'll zoom in on this part, but nice and brown. Test them out. Goes in nice and clean in the middle. Nothing sticking to it. Oh yeah. Okay, these are done. So turn off our oven. Turn off the light. Okay, so this concludes our banana nut bread recipe. I'll put the full recipe in the description. Other than that, you see it on the screen at the beginning. But I appreciate everybody for watching the whole video. If you stuck around to the end, as always, I appreciate the support. You know, if you want to continue to support me, like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, it's your boy Rocksteady, and I'm out. Have a great day.